Have you ever considered getting a walk-in tub?
No.
Hey, everybody. It's... Hey, everybody. Welcome to
No.
We Watch TV. It is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 83. Do you have any idea what that note was about? The walk-in tub was a note that Hope wrote down, and neither of us remember it.
I just put it in my notes app. I didn't say what show it was from. I think it was in a show. You think it was a commercial?
I thought it was a commercial for walk-in tubs.
I don't think so. I think it was in a show.
Oh, okay.
Why would a show be Murders?
Why would a show be advertising a walk-in tub?
Was it on Only Murders?
No,
No. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that we saw that at your parents' house.
Well,
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
First up here today, we have another pop review. Actually, a pop and snack review.
Yes.
I'm excited about the pop. I'm not excited about the snack.
Well, you don't have the pop sitting in front of you directly. It does have a stench to it.
Oh, I love a pop with a good stench.
So we're going to do the pop first.
All right.
And then we're going to do the snack. So what we have here, we have Mountain Dew mystery flavors. We have it in the zero sugar version and the regular. Daniel thought they were two different Mountain Dews. He is label adverse, as you guys know.
They're a nice milky white.
So, there's a black label for the zero sugar. So now I'm confused. Is the zero sugar going to be
The same flavor.
the same
They've got to be,
flavor,
right?
or what?
They've got to be. Does Mountain Dew do this every year? This is the first I've ever seen it, where they have, mystery flavors they put out.
I don't know. But shall I go?
Give it a sip. Let's see what happens.
We're going to try the Mountain Dew zero sugar first, because sometimes the zero sugar tastes worse, so I'll have something hopefully better to try after this. All right, so cheers.
What's it? What you got? That's a face you gave me there.
It's not bad like the Coke Zero.
Okay.
I don't know what the flavor is I'm getting. I definitely taste the usual diety aftertaste, but
Right. Does it taste like Mountain Dew?
no.
Okay.
Okay, do you know Airheads?
Yeah.
It reminds me of an Airhead.
You know, the color kind of looks like the white Airheads.
Yes.
Weren't
Which I
those
don't-
mystery flavored? The white
Yes.
ones? The white Airheads were a
Yes.
mystery flavor, weren't they?
Yes. I
a
couldn't tell you
conspiracy.
what, for sip, it tastes like a white Airhead, maybe almost like a cotton candy, but not really flavorish. Okay, so there's the zero. And now I'm going to go for the regular. And we'll see if they even taste the same or if I just have clearly lost on my taste. I don't know. So this is the regular. Cheers.
That's interesting. It's the same flavor.
I feel like it's the same flavor,
Okay.
just one is diet.
All right.
I'm going to complete the trifecta.
Oh, you have to take 3 drinks? Okay, I see how it is.
It does taste like the same flavor. My thing is just not really naming a flavor. I'm calling it Airhead mystery flavor, like the Airhead. So I'm going to hand you the diet to try.
All right, I got the diet here. Let's see. I tried to look at the ingredient list, but it's just chemicals. So let's go. That's weird.
Are you getting the Airhead flavoring? Even the zero tastes very sugary to me. With right?
It honestly it doesn't have a strong flavor. It's not a strong flavor.
But
when I have a Mountain Dew or a Baja Blast,
yeah.
I know what flavor I'm coming to, and I know it's going to be there. And this is very.
But there's that sweetness that reminds you, and the aftertaste in my mouth right now from both of them is giving Airheads. For me.
I never liked Airheads that much, so maybe that's what's going on.
You ate 20 of them one time in one sitting, and you
What's
didn't
your
like
point?
them very much.
What's your
Okay.
point?
All right, do you want to try the regular one? I just popped it into the microphone.
You can put the cap back on that diet one. I don't want any more
I
of
don't
that.
want any more of it either.
Okay, that's better. The regular one is better, but it's still the flavor is not.
It's just the sugar. It's almost sugar water.
Yeah, yes. Yes, it is sugar water.
Which is probably what Airheads are, but in not water form, solid.
Okay, look it up.
Form.
Let's find out what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's got to be on the internet, right?
All right, so either we are Googling incorrectly or people just don't know yet, or Mountain Dew wants to keep the mystery alive. But last year, the flavor was actually revealed to be apparently a cherry airhead, according to the Mountain Dew fandom. This year, no one's really saying directly, but I'm seeing that. Oh, now there's an ad on my screen.
You said you were seeing the word strawberry.
Yeah, something about possible strawberry flavorings.
I think
people
I
are
see
really
that.
into their Mountain Dew.
This is not good.
There are no hints announced yet from social media accounts of this Mountain Dew. What? 2023, it was leaked about what it was. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that serious.
Yeah, this is not good.
It's still giving to me some type of airhead flavor again. Or kind of, it almost reminds me of like when you were a kid, you didn't have a bunch of ear infections. Well, I did. And they would mix the flavorings like into the liquids before I was able to swallow pills. You know that like did you ever have anything prescribed?
The chunky stuff,
yes,
right?
But they would try to make it taste better by
they never
putting
tried with me.
Well, it
just
didn't
said,
work.
Drink it.
You do know that that's like the whole reason why I, made myself learn to swallow pills, because that was so gross.
Yeah. Well, that was I don't like it. I like it. Okay, let me rephrase.
It's better than the Coke Zero, but I wouldn't drink it.
It's better than the Coke Zero Oreo, but I would not just pick this up and drink it.
It also leaves a distinct aftertaste.
Yes, and it's still there. And it's
I knew
still
that
going.
people were super into Mountain Dew, but I didn't realize like it was such a dedicated fandom, which apparently it is.
Dew heads. I don't know if that's what they call it.
All right, are you ready to do the next thing?
I don't want to.
This is going to be kind of like, sorry if you don't like chewing sounds, but those of you that do, maybe a little ASMR. What is it, like mukbang? So
I hate this.
We tried the Oreo Coke Zero last week. Well, we bought the Oreos, the Coke Oreos, and they there's like a red cookie shell and the regular Oreo and then the filling. So I'm going to go ahead and take my first bite, or do you want to take our bites at the same time?
Take your bite, because I'm going to complain about the cookie while I'm at it. See, this I fundamentally, I believe that the flavoring is in the ice cream and it's in the red cookie, and this is wrong because that's not how you eat Oreos. You're not supposed to just take a bite out of a cookie. What's wrong?
Oh my.
Into the microphone. No, I really don't want to take a bite.
Okay. Oh. I actually think this, even though my face says otherwise, is better than the pop. I'm gonna, but it's not really. The bar was already set low. Oh,
Before I take my bite,
I'm not. Do I have to eat the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that my protest is heard. You're not supposed to bite into an Oreo. You're supposed to take screw the top off and do that stuff. So just the fact that you have to do it like this to get the full flavor.
It's
why
dumb.
is there like chunkies in the cream filling?
Ready?
Is that the Pop Rocks?
Yeah.
Oh.
Take a bigger bite than that. That's like the tiniest little bite I've ever seen. Oh, you just stuck the whole thing in your mouth? Okay, so while you're chewing, do you remember those firecracker Oreos that I liked that had the Pop Rocks in the center, but you never liked those? Mm-hmm. That's what it's giving to me, only it has this, again, burped up Coke taste. So the only part I liked was the little bit of Pop Rocks in the middle of it, but it tastes, I actually, though, like this is how much I do not like that pop. I actually like these better than the pop, but I'm definitely going to throw them away and the raccoons can enjoy them.
There's a,
it's like burped up Oreos. Again.
There's a cleaner undertone, like something you'd use to clean a bathtub out.
Or like that time we got those Frosties from Wendy's and they had clearly just cleaned the machine probably for the first time in like 3 years. And we were like, are we being poisoned right now?
I did not like that at all. I like that worse.
Okay.
That's worse than the Coke Zero Pop for me. The Oreo.
Oh, you know like the Sixth Sense, Misha Barton's character that was the girl under the bed and they were poisoning her with like liquid cleaners? Maybe now she could just be
The
poisoned by
Oreo
this
company
Oreo.
is poisoning me with cleaner with solid
So
cleaners.
You never liked the firecracker Oreos, did you? Those were just regular Oreos with like popping candy in the middle. You never liked
I don't
those,
generally
right?
like Pop Rocks or popping candy at all.
Unless it's that Fanta.
That is the only time I've ever liked
Orange
it, and I could
floats.
still do without it.
It's at the Orange Bird thing. It's not a citrus roll. The Orange Bird
Oh.
place. It's a Fanta orange. Yeah, I really wish I had something better to.
Folks, we're going
Get
to
this
take a
Oreo
short
thing
break.
out.
We'll be right back. All right, and we are back.
Blech. Still trying to get the taste out of my mouth.
I'm going to cleanse, see if this Yingling will do the job.
Oreos just need to stick with like double stuff. I guess like regular.
Just be a cookie.
Call it a day.
Don't be a pop. Be a cookie. Ugh. Well, if you've got a disgusting snack that you'd like us to try, just hit us up with a nice fan mail, which, if you're not familiar, in the episode description down below, you can click a little link that will allow you to send us a text message, and we promise to we threaten you that we will read it on air.
We will.
But speaking of fan mail, we got one. It's kind of the ongoing conversation between two of our listeners, and we're kind of just sitting back listening. But my sister did respond. She has not seen Resident Alien, but feels famous now. So,
Well, there you have it.
if you have any more messages you'd like to relay to other listeners of the podcast, let us know.
Want to feel famous on our small content creator podcast? Shoot us a fan mail.
Hey, if you are a longtime listener, you may need to sit down because we have some news.
It's not shocking news.
It's the opposite of shocking. The power went out again this past weekend.
I feel like not the last podcast, but maybe the one before that. We were just talking about
Yeah.
it. We need to create like some kind of like, I think I've even used the same reference. Like, remember the Subway punch cards for like the free like $5 like sub or something? Like how many, like keep track of how many times we mentioned that the power has gone out. But yeah, power went out about, picture this, like Sicily, picture this. So picture this, Friday afternoon, I had just taken a bite of lunch, about to, watch me some Modern Family just to give myself a nice little break midday, and suddenly the power's out. Now, we were both extremely busy last week, extremely busy.
Yeah.
So normally I'm like, on the weather watch. I'm stalking like the weather, stalking the hurricanes. I didn't realize that Hurricane Helene would have winds that would impact me here in West Virginia.
500 miles from any coast.
And we are on the side that's closest to Virginia. We're on the other side. We border Ohio.
And Kentucky.
We can get to Ohio in like 5-10 minutes if we want to. So we really hadn't been paying attention to that. I had heard that there might be some wind in the area. No clue. Well, yeah, Helene, she sucks. And she came in and we lost power and we were like, all right, whatever. So we try to go on with the rest of our day. Once again, Daniel can't read labels. He can't read text either. And he's like, oh, it's going to be back at 11 p.m. tonight. And between that time, I had been hotspotting my phone because we also have like no service where we live, which is super fun. So other people that lose power and you still have full service and you can still pretty much do everything, we lose power, we have like nothing. We can barely get a text message out, but I was able to hotspot my phone and look at some things. And I'm like, are you sure? Because this isn't the run of the mill, somebody hit the pole. I'm like, this is almost like derecho levels with this wind and all these trees down. And I'm like, that's going to really surprise me if it's back on at 11 p.m. tonight. And he's like, oh, it's 11 p.m. Sunday night. Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, we had ourselves a little weekend. We are about out of some of our candles that have lasted
Our
us through the
emergency
years.
candles, yeah.
We have to refill that.
It's like 15 years they've lasted us now. I bought some more on
I'm
the
surprised with
internet.
all the outages we've had. They fought the good fight. So one of them that we use, what used to be like the centerpiece that we would use when we would host Christmas dinners, now it's become the power outage candle.
Yeah.
So we ended up packing up and going to my parents' house because they live in a town where they weren't as affected. I could tell there was some impacts there because there was a lot of like brush and trees down, but they hardly ever lose power. That's how I grew up. So when I moved to this area, I'm like, what? Like, what? People just lose power all the time. Somebody sneezes and I'm without power for like 7 hours. What is this? So we quickly packed up things, made our merry way in. My parents were out of town. They were in Hawaii. So we have the security code for their house. And then it dawned on me as we were using that. I'm like, I text my mom and I'm like, can you text your neighbors
Yeah.
so they don't think we're breaking in? Which one of them ended up, before they got the text out, came over to talk to you. Everything was cool.
Yeah, they caught me while I was
after that.
bringing luggage in. They were cool. They were chill. I think they were definitely like asking questions because we know of their neighbors, but I don't know that I've ever like had a conversation with their neighbor before.
We've briefly spoken to their neighbors before, and it was kind of like it was already dark outside. Like, it wasn't late, but it was already dark when we had arrived. I'd say we probably arrived around like 8, maybe.
They were vibe checking. Yeah.
It
They
was
were
a vibe
checking
check.
me.
Like, who are these people? We have a screaming dog with us. It was
It was
fun.
It was a great time.
So I'm trying to figure out all the lights in their house. I had no laundry. That was one of the main reasons we were like, one, it would get so hot and stuffy in our house. We can't get a cell. It's not like we really can't do anything. So we're like, let's head up. Let's go there. And when I tell you guys, might be TMI, that I was down to like 2 things of panties left. That's it. And I'm like, I gotta. So I threw stuff in the dark, like college style. Then we get to their house, and by the time that in the evening, after we kind of settled in, we go back to use their very much newer than our washer and dryer. Felt like it was an IQ test. I'm like, okay, what do I do? I'm like, this is way different than mine. Figured all of that out. We did get some good food out of it.
Didn't you have to remove a few items from the dryer that they'd left in there?
Yes. So my mom, who is like a neat freak, by the way, she is so clean. She's so organized. She was like, please apologize for the mess.
Where'd you come from?
Hey. Hey, what about you? Well, I know you guys are unapologetic about it, so never mind. Anyway, she's like, I'm so sorry if there's any mess. The mess that we saw were some unfolded towels on one of the beds in the guest bedroom, a box of tissues on the floor that Marvin found within seconds, and then she hadn't emptied out the dryer. So I had to remove socks and some of my parents' undergarments from the dryer. So that was, I just kind of put them on their bed and ran out of the room real quick. I'd rather not have to do that again, but we were appreciative that they allowed us to stay there.
To squat in their home
For a couple days. And thankfully, the crews did. We know we complain a lot about, because it just, what frustrates us so much is the frequency of the outages that we get, where somebody merely hits a pole and we could be without power for 7 hours or no explanation. But this was a very different situation. And I do feel like the crews did respond very quickly. So in all seriousness, we were appreciative of that. We got the text about 6:30, I think, on Saturday that it had been restored. So we were able to come back home. And definitely our hearts go out to those people that had it way worse than we did. Like, I think when you move to like a coastal area, or live in Florida, you expect hurricanes as part of the, kind of the territory. You're a little bit more prepared. And a lot of these very inland places like Asheville, which looks like just a scene from a horror movie, they definitely did not see this coming. So we don't want to come off like we're being all whiny about our power. It's just kind of like the funny joke between us and you guys. But definitely, if you are in those areas, we're thinking about you. We are hoping that things get better. And yeah, we're really sorry that you had to go through that. It really sucks. Helene sucks.
Oh yes, for sure. I don't know. Do we have to move more inland? Do we need to go to Minnesota?
I don't know, because people in
Montana?
Ohio were posting TikToks.
Yeah, how far
hey,
do we have to go to get away from this?
It was just crazy. Like, I guess, and I was even texting friends that we were all, because they were all like more like south than I was, and we were talking about like the hurricane. I'm like, I think we're gonna get hit by like another system, like, because it just didn't even click in my brain that like we would have hurricane winds here in West Virginia and lose our power. So for those keeping track, it's been at least a couple times so far in September.
Twice in September.
Let's hope it doesn't happen again.
Am
I going to have to get a hurricane prepared kit now too? Like, what's going on?
Hope not. Hopefully not.
But we were able to, thankfully, watch some shows this weekend. Or not this weekend, last week. And just a reminder to you guys, we are a spoiler podcast. We always do, because we know we have some new people around. So again, we always put those chapter markers for you guys. So if you are a long-time listener, you know that you can click through. Some of you guys don't care about spoilers. Some of you do. And then if you're ever somebody that's like, I just don't watch a show at the pace that they do, but I want to hear what they're saying. For certain shows, like I'm sure we'll do it for Agatha All Along, we release what's called a supercut. Usually it is, about a month or so or maybe a little more after that show has wrapped. For example, we just launched our The Boys supercut from season 4 that came out this past Saturday. So if you ever want to stick around and wait for those, you can. Totally up to you. But again, reminder, spoiler podcast. Those chapter markers, you can skip around or you can just hear us, ramble on and on and on.
I'm on the other side of spoilers.
Where did you hear this phrase that you have been using for months?
I don't know. I love it, though.
Constantly. He'll be like, I'm on the other side of it. I'm on the other side of it. What did you say? You said something ridiculous the other night. Like, I'm on the other side of, like, chips. I was like, what are you talking about? It was something about food, and you were real weird about it.
I don't recall. You should have wrote it down. So spoiler podcast, and also if you have followed the show and liked the show, maybe think about going into one of those apps, Spotify, Apple, and giving the show a nice little rating if you haven't done that before. Supposedly, it does something. No one in the whole podcast universe really knows if it does anything, but we do like to see those little stars show up next to it. So if you haven't done that before, just jump in there and you just hit the button. I'm not going to tell you what to rate it. Give it an honest rating. 5.
Helps our serotonin.
And with that, and I think you already mentioned this one, so I think we might as well just jump right in. Agatha All Along. This is the 3rd episode of the season?
Yes, we just watched the 3rd episode, and I am loving it. Loving it. This episode was a little sad, though.
Yeah.
So we lost, again, spoiler alert, at the end of the episode, we lost our beloved Sharon, played by Deborah Jo Rupp. Deborah Jo Rupp. I cannot talk today. So basically they're on the Witch's Road. That's where we picked up. They have their first, I guess, it seems like they're having like quests.
Or tests or trials or some sort of like thing they have to go through. And it seems like each test is going to be towards one of the witches. So this test was for the potions witch. But
obviously it impacted all of them because they were all having hallucinations. I called this test kind of like the women wine club, like suburban or upper middle class women wine club, because suddenly they go into this fancy house and then they're all wearing just like those like outfits that you would see like wine club or like, middle-aged women out to brunch. And Deborah Jo Rupp made her character Sharon about how she could die in the kitchen. I'm pretty sure she said that, and then she did die, so that was a bummer. So one of the potions they had to do, they all drank this wine, and then they would hallucinate like their fears.
Yeah.
So we see Agatha, her fear is like the Book of the Damned, I think that's what it's called, and supposedly she traded her son, Nicholas Scratch, for this book. Now, I think they're leaning hard into it that the teen could be Nicholas Scratch, but I don't think he's Nicholas Scratch.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
I'm still going with Billy Maximus.
Yeah.
Even though we know that he has, again, Funko Pop, if you guys pay attention to those, absolutely spoiled characters. He's credited as the Wiccan on his Funko. And Rio, Rio Aubrey Plaza's character, she has been, so definitely, cover your ears for a second, Funko is calling her Death.
Heck yeah.
Which we had heard rumors.
Yeah, finally.
We had heard rumors that Death might be in this show. So
not a more perfect actor for the role. I now know why the Thanos of the comic books was willing to go through what he went through. Because his motivation in the comic books was different than what it was in
So Thanos was he like Death?
No, Thanos wanted to snap everybody away to impress Death because he had a crush on her.
But in the comic books, doesn't Death and Deadpool date?
Yes.
Because everybody thought that his girlfriend in Deadpool was going to be Death. I remember people said that for like years.
People were vying for her, and now I see why. Totally get it.
It makes more sense. So do we think that she killed Nicholas Scratch? I think they had a relationship. I think they've hooked up, but I also think there's something with that whole like tradesies things. What do you think?
Aubrey Plaza's character?
Yeah, Death. Do we think that she had something to do with the one that possibly Agatha made the trade to. What do you think?
I don't know.
I think she's going to show up. I think she might even show up in the form of Sharon at some point. Some people thought that. I think that could happen later because I do think Sharon is dead. They said if you're not a witch, you can't make it down the witch's road.
Well, I think it was interesting too. One thing that I saw on TikTok they noted was when they were making the potion,
the hair.
one thing they had to do was take a hair, and they did not get her.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's why that
like was that
happened.
A mistake? Was that intentional? Because the whole hair thing was like the last minute. Somebody else, bless TikTok, posted a clip from WandaVision where the little boys, Wanda's children, were saying like, "Mommy, you can do anything. You can do anything. You can bring people back from the dead," or something. Like they said something to that effect. And you saw Agatha. This is before we knew who like that she was really villainy. She was like, "Really? Can you?" People have been pointing that out. Do we think Agatha's actually gone down the witch's road like she has claimed, or do you think she's full of it?
That is unclear to me at this time because she's definitely like, I don't know. Well, first of all, wouldn't she have had to have another group of witches to go down it with her? Yes. Because it seems like you have to, like the whole way they got in there was by gathering the group up.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's a good question that
She was trying to get away with not drinking the wine at first too. And then it just appeared and they like made her do it.
She's being very evasive about a lot of things. And I'm wondering if you're right, if one of them is she's never actually been down here before.
I just feel really bad because all Sharon wanted to do was have a girls' night. And then right before she died, because they were each hallucinating their fears, and I remembered this from WandaVision, that episode where her husband started to choke, and she's like, "Wanda, please, please stop. So that's like the last thing she saw. That's so sad.
Yeah.
And then like we are like, okay, like she's dead. And then the credits go into Off With Your Head. Like, what a banger. Like, these post-credits have had just absolute bangers. And supposedly we're going to lose, I think, 2 other people. Do we think we're going to... I hope we don't lose Patti LuPone's character.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I heard that episode 5 is where stuff really goes bananas.
Do we know how many episodes there are in the season?
No, but I know that the last episode, it was originally supposed to be on the 31st, but it's going to be on the 30th. The finale episode, which I think will be perfect for Halloween. So do you think that you don't think he's Nicholas Scratch? Do we think he knows Nicholas Scratch? Do we think he's... Obviously, somebody's put a test on him so no one can hear who he is.
Well, so the way they framed it in the episode was that it was a protection... I can't remember the exact phrase they used. And so you have to wonder if it's something residual Wanda magic that's preventing them from knowing who he is. I don't know.
Now, I screenshotted this thing before we started this episode, and I just felt like it was really important to point out. So I don't know who this person is that tweeted this, but basically the MCU, the direct Twitter account, has said that Agatha All Along is being review bombed on IMDb, receiving many 1-star ratings from users criticizing the series. And her response to this, which has gotten a lot of likes and retweets, I absolutely agree with. 1, it's women-centered. It is about powerful women.
Yeah.
2, it is about accommodating to the LGBTQ plus audience.
Of course.
And 3, it is inclusive of diverse characters who aren't just side characters but main characters. And then this user says, incels cannot fathom powerful women who are funny without needing men to be involved. As the white man in the room, what do you think about that comment?
I agree. Like, I've never hated something so much that I felt the need to go write a bad review about it. When I like a thing, I have liked something so much that I've gone and written a review on the internet about it. But I have never disliked something so much, been so offended by something that I went and wrote on the internet about it. It's just like, oh, that's not for me. But that doesn't mean it's not for some other people.
I didn't even give How I Met Your Mother a bad review, and that finale was like absolute trash.
Everything comes back to that.
Yes.
So I don't. Are Marvel fans getting as bad as Star Wars fans?
I think Marvel fans might be worse in some areas. It's really, I guess Star Wars fans have been bad for a while when you consider the bullying in that fandom.
Yeah.
But I think Marvel, I think a lot of Marvel fans, we had a lot of peace and togetherness. And then when they started telling different stories in the next phase that did feature more women, more inclusivity, like, I think that just some people don't like it. And they won't admit as to why. I am loving Agatha. It's checking all the boxes. Is it like, as good or the same as Endgame? No, it's just a totally different vibe.
Well, that's not. But that's the thing. Is like they're not trying to tell Endgame, and I think, and this has been a problem Marvel has had ever since Endgame. Is that everybody's expectations have been, well, this is the next Endgame, and it's like, no, it's not. Like
even before that,
it's
though,
never the plan.
People really like had a problem with like Captain Marvel. Like I do think there's like a degree of sexism that goes into it with female leads.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. Although I will say the first Captain Marvel movie got over $1 billion. But then the second one that came out here just recently, like, bombed hard. So something has changed since Endgame for Marvel, and I don't know what it is. But I certainly agree with you that for shows like Agatha, for Ms. Marvel, and some of the other ones, that stuff absolutely plays a role.
And some people won't even give it a chance. That's what's so infuriating to me. Like, Ms. Marvel's a perfect example. Like, we thought it might be too almost kid-like when we watched the first episode, but then we really got into the story.
Yeah.
And that actress, she's great that played Ms. Marvel. So I think some people, it's not that serious. Let's just call it. We're on the other side of it.
There you go. There you go. All right. Anything else with Agatha?
Nope. Just looking forward to the next episode.
All righty. Well, up next from that, we continued watching Only Murders in the Building. Do you remember what episode this is? Is this 5? It's so strange for me to have a show to be in shows like Marvel where we feel lucky and blessed if we get 8 episodes, and then Only Murders in the Building usually pumps out like 10 or 12, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's so many episodes in this show. How can we? You can't even keep it straight in our minds.
We just finished episode 5.
Okay.
So the episode that drops tonight will be episode 6.
All right.
I can look on IMDb.
The internet movie.
And tell you how many are planned for season 4.
Watch them be like 8 this season, even though I just gave them the brag.
Let's see here. There are 10 episodes. Sweet. The final episode will air on October 29th.
Yeah.
Which 10? I mean, like, I'll take 10.
I'll take 10, yeah.
I will take 10. I will take 10. So on the most recent episode that we watched, the trio face off against a collection of individuals who deceive, manipulate, and threaten a second nature, a Hollywood cast and crew. So where we had left previously, Molly Shannon's character, she's not playing herself. She like held them at gunpoint on Sass's property. I don't think she's the murderer. I think she's just crazy.
No, and I also don't think the people they're pointing to by the end of this episode, which is the 2 directors, are the murderers either.
Do we think that they're called like the Sister Brothers or something? Do we think that's a riff on the Duffer Brothers?
I think it has to be.
I think so too.
I think it has
the
to
way
be.
like they dress and talk. So they're trying to frame them as the murderers now. Scott Bakula's still leading.
For me, absolutely.
So I feel like we had some revelations in this episode. Not a ton of things though. Oh, you had a note, which you didn't pull up for me. What does that note say? Something about Oliver's character.
I hope I wrote it down. Oh, that he had a roids phase?
Yes. So basically they're trying to like recreate like how somebody could have shot at Charles's apartment, and Charles can't do it. So Oliver's like, well, I'm in very good shape. I can do it. So he puts on like his like little workout clothes that looks like they haven't seen the sun since maybe 1993 or maybe even earlier. And he's like, yeah, I went through, I don't know when he says that, but he's like, yeah, I even went through my roids phase when I took prednisone. I can never pronounce that right, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been prescribed that steroid like multiple times, like when you have like a really bad sinus infection.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they gave me when I had shingles too. So I'm like, and I would always make the joke anytime I was prescribed a steroid, I'd be like, oh, I'm roiding up. So it's just little nuggets of humor like that make me love Only Murders.
Yeah, it's great. It's continuing great. This season's better than last season.
Yes, and it's because the trio is together.
Yes, they learned their lesson. Keep the trio together. They've done it. Paul Rudd's character came back.
Yeah,
still great. They're trying. They're basically pointing the finger at not just the directors, but like they're suspicious of the entire production now.
Like it was focused on like the writer that apparently thinks to be a good writer, he needs to apply a fake beard, which was strange. That was just really weird. Do you think there's any chance that Sass is still alive, or do you think she is dead? Any chance that she could be trying to get... They talked about how she was in pain and she didn't want to be a stunt double anymore. Any chance that she wanted to give Charles this opportunity to solve this case and that she's off, blissfully drinking Mai Tai somewhere on the coast? Any chance? Or do you think she is
No,
gone?
I don't think so. I think from the perspective that they showed us at the end of last season and the things they've shown us so far, that would be... They would have to get really creative to show us how she survived, because they showed us they showed her getting shot and bleeding last season and in flashes of this season. So I would have, plus how do you explain like the joints in the incinerator and stuff like that? Now obviously you could explain that by she threw them down there and planned it all, obviously. I don't think they were... I would be disappointed if that's the direction they went.
So who was the bullet aiming for? Was it aiming for Charles? That still has not been answered.
I mean, no, it hasn't really been answered, but right now we are in the middle of the season. We're in the middle of throw everything at us and see if we can figure out what it is right now. So I fully expect us to be confused.
I really liked where Charles was walking around with his phone trying to be discreet and taking pictures, but he didn't have the sound off, so it was like
They've really for both of the older characters in this show, they have gone hard on.
They just go full boomer on them.
Yeah, use of technology, and it's been really good.
The only people I know that do that and have that sound on their phone are like older people. Speaking of older people, what's up next?
More from the Frasier season 2 reboot.
Well, Roz, she showed up again in this episode.
Yes,
fits right in. Still the same Roz.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got an Alice mention. Alice is going to be played by Greer Grammer. April. You do it better than I do. Say it again.
April.
We have not seen Alice yet. She will show up soon, and we think she might be... I think it's going to be weird if she tries to hook up with Freddie, because I feel like they would have known each other very well. But maybe not. Like, if they didn't know who each other was, that would be weird for me. But maybe they don't spend enough time together to have like a cousin-y sibling-like relationship.
I mean, he's probably in Seattle a couple times a year.
Well, we know that she's in Providence now. She's going to Risby, the school that Seth Cohen was supposed to go to on the OC.
Huzzah!
We got more. We had the whole plot with Eve's baby. Frasier and Alan and Freddie were using the baby to try to pick up ladies.
Yes.
While that storyline was silly, I'll definitely say that in terms of Alan, I felt like we actually got one of those Frasier moments where you had the humor, but then you do have that bit of sadness. We find out why Alan was enjoying doing that, because he doesn't really have contact with one of his kids, and he hasn't really gotten to play that grandfather role. Do you think that they are dumbing Freddie down from last season?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I think also part of Freddie's character is dumbing himself down on purpose. Okay. Because he does not want... because like we saw last season when he got drunk.
He's smart.
Smart Freddie came out, and I think part of the character is doing that on purpose to put that persona off, particularly around his peers at the fire department and other places. He wants to fit in. Yeah.
And they've kind of cooled off on the whole conflict between Frasier and Freddie at this point. They've sort of put a hold on that. We know Bulldog is going to show up soon. How do you think he's going to fit in?
Well, it looked to me from the trailer they showed that Frasier's going back to Seattle at some point, and that's where you're going to meet all those people. So it seems to me like all those people will just be doing the same old thing they were doing when the regular Frasier was on.
I would love
which
that.
Which is what you kind of want to see in a reboot from the nostalgia standpoint, but also from a character standpoint. It's a little sad to see none of these people have moved on to do other things.
I think Roz seems to be doing well. She's still the same Roz.
Sure. Right.
She's friendly. We know from what they were saying that Alice is friendly too, just like her mother. I think Roz fits when Perry Gilpin is on screen. I feel like she fits right back in.
She slides into that character very easily, yes. So ultimately now, Frasier and everybody have to watch The Baby once a week. David has to supervise, and I don't know. It's just it's at one point it's like shenanigans ensue. It's a sitcom. You're going to have these kind of things, but on the other hand, it's like Frasier. It's same old Frasier doing the same old hijinks all these years later.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do we think that the baby, like, I felt like they almost forgot that the baby existed, so I'm glad that the baby showed up.
Yeah, this was the first time this season we'd heard about the baby, so yeah.
And I think where I was asking you about Freddie, like, we knew that Freddie and Eve were living together because he was helping take care of the baby because Eve's, the father of that baby was one of his fireman friends that had died. But then, like, Freddie was acting clueless about how to care for a baby, and that's where I was like, what is going on?
Well, different writers forget. Don't watch the thing that was done before, and they forget stuff. That happens all the time.
Well, speaking of some writing that might be wacky or not and weird, yet you continue to watch, you have watched how many episodes of The Reins of Power?
I watched 2 more. So the 3rd episode and the 4th episode. It continues to be that show.
Descriptive.
I have a couple notes. Okay. So they're trying to do the whole Game of Thrones thing. And what I mean is that they have multiple storylines that ultimately are connected, but episode to episode aren't really connected. Like you're just going from, like, you know how in Game of Thrones you'd see what Daenerys was doing and you'd see what they were doing in King's Landing and you'd see what they're doing up in the north, right? They're doing that, but poorly. So the 3rd episode, we finally check in on a couple of different groups that just didn't show up in the first 2 episodes at all. They got no storylines in the first 2 episodes. And you can tell that the writers were switched out from season 1 to season 2 because they didn't like what they did in season 1. And, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with them, but so one of the main characters from season 1, they killed off screen.
Oh. And
so you find it was an elf guy. He's alive, and he had fallen in love with a human woman, and that was kind of that was kind of like a B romance.
Aragorn human, and he fell in love with an elf.
Yeah, that was kind of a B romance in season 1.
Okay.
And she got injured at the end of season 1, but by the end of the episode, you know, she's okay, she's gonna live, and then, boop, she's dead. It turns out she wasn't healed, and it got her.
Oh.
I don't know if it was because, like, they decided they didn't know what to do with her character, or maybe the actress didn't want to come back. I don't know what led to it, but it was very, like, I had to actually pause the show to, like, go look and find out, wait, did she die at the end of season 1 and I just don't remember it? And no, that's not the case.
Are they doing the J.J. Abrams thing where he did the first Star Wars of the sequels, then the other guy did it, and then he's like, he didn't necessarily kill people off, but he's like, I have to change this entire plot, so we're just going to put on some lines about it. Are they doing that?
I don't know if the
showrunners
showrunners got swapped out, but they swapped out writers.
And sometimes that shows, like, I've watched it, like, I know, I can't believe that we're going to make this connection. Reigns of Power in Beverly Hills 90210. After season 7, season 7 was when they graduated from college, all the original writers left. And when it comes back in season 8 in the adult years, I feel like I'm watching almost a totally different show, and, like, character motivations are different. Some of the characters present different. It's like none of those new writers watched a single episode of the previous 7 years of a show. And they've even mentioned that on, like, some of the podcasts I listened to for 90210, and I'm like, that's why it just felt like so different. So would you say it's such an abrupt change that they didn't even do their homework?
I don't know that it's that abrupt, but that character was a particularly one that kind of, like, surprised me that they just dropped completely. I think the thing that's putting me off more right now is how they are. So this 3rd episode that I'm talking about basically picked up 2 storylines that they hadn't talked about in season 2, but at the expense of, we didn't get any Galadriel or Elrond.
And those are like the two main.
And so they were not in the episode.
Well, not the two main, but like some of the main. Okay.
And so like when I say they're doing Game of Thrones but badly, that's what I mean. It's like a Game of Thrones, they always checked in on everybody and made sure that they gave you a little bit of a sprinkle of what everybody was doing. And here it was like this very like, there were two storylines. They gave us the elf and he's helping Middle-earth people escape the orcs now that his woman friend is dead. And the Numenorians. Okay. The Numenorians are boring. I don't care about that storyline.
What is a Numenorian?
So the Numenorians are so Aragorn is descended from them. They're basically...
I thought he was a human.
He is. Oh. They're humans, but they live in an island that's going to be destroyed by God.
God exists in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. Not ours, but and God. So...
Okay. Tolkien was he smoking something when he wrote these books?
He talks a lot about smoking pipeweed in the Shire with the hobbits. So the third episode was really weak in my opinion. Get to the fourth episode, and we get to meet old Tom Bombadil.
Okay, and he shows up in the book Fellowship.
He is in the Fellowship of the Ring. He was not in the movies. Legendary character amongst the book readers.
Okay. To
the point where we're a little nervous. Honestly, I would have probably preferred him just stay in the book. So,
do you think he'll have like a major role?
Well, I enjoyed his appearance initially because he was very much just like So Tom Bombadil, old Tom Bombadil, he has his yellow boots and his blue coat.
Is he a hobbit?
He's a man like he's a human like figure.
Oh, so he's like the Aragorn like people you were telling me about.
Yeah, he's a human like figure who just hangs out in the woods and talks to the trees and pets animals and is a really chill dude and likes to garden. He sings. He's got a super hot wife named Goldberry. He also might be God. We don't know, though.
Was he suggested that might be God in the books, or is this the show suggesting it?
Both.
Okay, so the show didn't pull this out of the rear
it is.
end. Okay.
But the show is appropriately leaving it obscure.
Okay.
He is something not like anything else. But the thing in the books is he really doesn't want to get involved in the goings-ons of people. So here's the thing. So the character, the stranger, who we all know is Gandalf, meets Tom Bombadil. And it is all but confirmed by name now that that's Gandalf, because Tom Bombadil is basically like, yeah, you're kind of here to stop, Sauron from killing everybody. And that's the part where I felt like Tom Bombadil's character stepped out from the books a little bit, because that's just not something Tom would do.
I thought that Sauron was still like pretending to be an elf or something.
Yeah, he is.
Do people know he's Sauron? Like that or how does Tom Bombadil know this information? Is it because he's God? Interesting.
Listen, there have been book reports on top of book reports written about Tom Bombadil in the books, because he shows up, he saves the hobbits from a tree, he is super weird, and then they leave, and he's never mentioned again. And there's just no reason, like a modern day author would never put something like that in their story. It makes no sense.
I read about him because when I tried to read Fellowship, and I was like, oh my gosh, nothing has happened in the movie yet, and I got like a good portion of the way through that
the bookmark that's in the book. If that is your original bookmark, you got past Tom Bombadil.
Clearly, I wasn't impressed to keep going. I was like, usually I'm a book is better person, but Lord of the Rings, that just took some work. Didn't we find over the weekend when we were at my parents' house, I found several old photos. Remember disposable cameras? Anyway, and you couldn't, to get the disposable cameras developed, you had to use all of it, all the film.
So there's always like junk pictures at the end.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of pictures of just like my desk setup freshman year, and I have like these little plastic drawers, which I probably put like papers, like stationery stuff in. And on top of it is Daniel's copy of the Fellowship of the Ring. I'm like, 20 plus years later, still haven't finished it.
So I mean, I think they did a good job with Tom Bombadil. I kind of wish they would keep him out of stuff, but I also understand they kind of where they're going with him and what they're trying to do. And I don't think he'll probably be in the next episode, and that'll be about it. And he
How
probably
many
won't show up
episodes
again.
are there?
I don't know.
Nice.
I'm through 4. I think there might be 8 to 10, but I don't know for sure.
Are they getting a season 3? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Because I feel like I'm kind of surprised with how you guys complain about this, that you got a season 2. But is it one of those shows where you all the Lord of the Rings fans? Because I know another Lord of the Rings fan that I just talked to the other day, and he told me he was watching the show, and he's like, but I hate it. And then it's the same thing. Like, I haven't heard anybody be like, I like this show.
That's generally what my experience
It's like
is.
screw you, I'll see you tomorrow type of
now,
show.
I will say, listen, okay, I say all this about it, but then I will also tell you that when I was watching these episodes, I had my map of Middle Earth up, and I was tracking their travels as they were moving along to see if they were sticking to the accurate maps, and they were doing a pretty good job at that. And I'll also say one more thing about it before, because I don't want to bore everybody to death, but... you remember the Ents, the tree people from Two Towers and Return of the King? Okay. They were all male.
I was going to say, I don't think I liked that storyline.
Because they lost their wives, the Ent wives. They didn't know where they were anymore. Okay. We meet a male and female Ent in this story. And so I'm wondering if because what happened, how it's described in the book is the Ent wives left.
They're just tired of these men.
They up and left.
Sick of the men.
It's always been a mystery. There's never been any explanation for it in the books, and I'm hoping maybe they're going to try and come up with something.
So what you're telling me is that the key, most interesting storyline of this series is about the tree folk.
The big tree people and how they are... The mystery of, well, where did the wives go? Because he's got a wife right there, and the guy's like holding her back. She's like pissed. Because the orcs are cutting down her trees.
Riveting.
Yeah, it's riveting stuff, I'll tell you. You watched a movie without me.
I did. Speaking of riveting, so I read, I found out on Book Talk, it was probably a couple summers ago, I read It Ends With Us. I thought I was going to get like a saucy book, not a depressing book that addresses topics like domestic violence. But I finished the book as one does, and then they... started, I think it was last summer, we got the news they were filming the movie. Blake Lively was cast as the main character, Lily Bloom Blossom. Yes, that's her name, and her occupation is she is a florist. Didn't tell you that before, did I?
That's how the book is as well?
Yes, that's how the book is, and then she has that obviously the same occupation in the movie. So at first, nothing against Blake Lively. I know there's been a lot of drama offset about this, but I'm like, okay, she is way too old for this character, because in the books... Lily's, I think, supposed to be like early 20s, which I feel like for the events that take place in the story is almost even sadder that a 20-something-year-old would go through what she did in terms of like domestic violence and all of those heavy topics. So, but I get it's Hollywood. So, like the characters that they had play the young versions of Lily and Atlas, which that girl... She does look very similar to Blake Lively, but the way she was supposed to be playing like a 15-year-old, but she probably in her 20s would be my guess. That's how I pictured them to look when I read the book of how young these people would look. So I'm like, had to get past that. We obviously did not make it to see the movie in theaters. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And then Daniel's like, well, did you like the movie better than the book? And I'm like, no. And I was like, well, I didn't like the book. And he's like, why'd you watch the movie? I'm like, well, I put in the work, so I wanted to see the book. I feel like so much of that movie premiere was taken over by all the offset drama between the two leads. And I really feel like they marketed that movie poorly, just as I felt like the book was marketed to me poorly. Like they marketed the movie like it was going to be this cute like rom-com. They were even like, wear your florals, go take your girls to see this movie. And I'm like, this is not a rom-com. I'll tell you this, some spot on casting. I think his name's like Kevin McKidd or something. He plays Dr. Owen Hunt on Grey's Anatomy. I hate Owen. I've never liked Owen, ever. And they played him, or he played Lily's abusive dad, who abused like the mom and was just like verbally abusive to like Lily and like beat the crap out of her high school boyfriend. I'm like, well, spot on characterization. I feel like at this point, this Kevin guy is like, you know what? I'm good at playing these characters everybody hates. Why not just, make a paycheck and do this? So that was good casting because no one likes Owen Hunt. I've never met anybody that likes Owen Hunt. And the Grey's Anatomy fandom can be very opinionated, but I feel like we all agree that we absolutely hate Owen Hunt. I never liked him from the second he appeared on my screen. You remember Owen, right?
I do, yes.
Did you like Owen when you watched Grey's?
I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other.
You're on the other side
I'm
of it.
on the other side of it.
But you're not on the other side of Lord of the Rings.
I'm not.
Or time travel.
Time travel.
not time travel in general, the way they, because you said that Rings of Power was doing your travel sins where they were just getting from point A to point B.
Yeah, and then
quickly.
in the fourth episode, they do the exact opposite, where all of a sudden, inexplicably for some reason, Elrond and Galadriel need to get somewhere, and they need to get there quickly, and they just start running. They don't get on a horse, and I'm talking like hundreds of miles
Are
here.
elves good runners?
Yeah, they can run for a long time, but like they don't have horses. They've had horses in the show.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, circling back to It Ends With Us, I felt like they did a good job for the most part sticking to the book, and they eliminated the stuff that I would have eliminated if I was a movie person, some of it. Okay, so there's like this whole subplot in the book where she and Atlas would watch the Ellen show together. Alice is the homeless kid that she befriends and that she ends up hooking up with, and like she helps him out in life. But they would watch like the Ellen show, and she like names her baby's middle name is like Dory because Ellen played Dory in Finding Nemo. I'm serious. I thought that was really silly and weird in the books. So they like took all that part out. I was fine with that. I saw some book fans complain about it. I'm like, that just is a silly, weird reference. The only thing is you can hear them listening to the Ellen show when they're watching TV together, Lily and young Atlas. But I felt like they really, it was like the book on like, which I guess most movies are, but like the book on like Speed or something. They just boom, 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 boom through all the plot points. And I thought that it was harder, I felt like, to put in the impact of what was going on with like her relationship with Ryle, the domestic violence. And I can see why some people that watch that movie were like, oh, she should have given him a chance. Because they didn't, like, explain it and show it as much as they should have, like what you get from the book. They made him, which he is apologetic in the book, but they just, because it moved so quickly, I felt like I could see why people might walk out of that movie and be like, oh, why didn't she give him another chance? That being said, I do think that they showed in a way like how domestic violence situations could possibly happen. Like, it's not just a guy getting mad and just punching a girl in the face. Like, it's very uncomfortable to watch some of these scenes. But yeah, my review is I didn't like the book and I didn't like the movie, but I read the book and then I watched the movie. So there you go. It's not a rom-com. It's not funny. You're not going to have a good time watching it. So just
So that's it. Put that on the back of the box.
Yeah.
All right, and finally this week, Dancing with the Stars, elimination last week. No episode tonight.
Double elimination.
Double episode last week. No episode tonight.
Yes.
So they're all safe for another week.
Well, what they're doing is, and obviously no one's going to get eliminated, but they are actually filming the episode like usual on Tuesday. Anybody that is in that live audience has to put their phone in like this bag that they can only get for emergencies. I think they have to sign NDAs. So the Monday's episode next week is going to be pre-recorded, and then the Tuesday show will be like normal. And this is because of the debate that's taking place. So we are getting 2 episodes. I don't know if it'll be a double elimination or a regular elimination, but our most recent episode, we did have our double elimination. And I can't believe when we were giving our predictions, I just totally forgot about Anna entirely.
Yeah.
Until after I was listening back. And I'm like, oh, I should have said that. But I did mention, well, I didn't predict her, that I was worried about Tori Spelling. And unfortunately, I was right. Tori Spelling and Anna Delvey were eliminated. What are your thoughts?
I mean, Anna Delvey, I don't care that she left. Like,
what did you take away from this show?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Like, I don't care that she left. Tori's disappointing because I felt like she was fun, and then she certainly wasn't the worst dancer on the floor.
No.
And that's the thing. Like the first couple eliminations, I don't, unless it's just egregious, I usually don't get too up in arms about people staying around who are not as good dancers, but because they have more of a fandom. Obviously, as we get deeper into the show, if that keeps happening, I'm going to get a little bit more irritated by it, because I do think at some point people need to stop voting for people just because they like them. They also need to vote for the people who are actually good at dancing. And I'm going to just be honest, Reg has just stood there for
Reg.
2 straight dances and done
his little Die Hard
absolutely
dance
nothing.
was cute.
Done absolutely nothing.
But he's precious. And you know what? I think he will keep getting votes, because people, like, apparently a lot of the young folks on TikTok that never watched Family Matters in their lives are like obsessed with him because of how precious and cute he is. And I agree with you. I think Dancing with the Stars, it goes by like talent, but I have been a longtime watcher of the show. I started watching this show with my parents when I was still in college. Craziness. and it's never always been about who exactly the best dancer is. That being said, I think there's really only Bobby Bones was not good, and he won, and that was one where everyone was like, ugh. I don't think there's ever been like a type though, like a Reg type that people just liked and won and was so bad. So I don't think that's going to happen. It's just, yeah, I was really disappointed with Tori, even though I was worried for her. I was hoping that the fans would come through. She kind of talked about on her podcast how a lot of her fans like didn't realize on the West Coast that, because it's not aired live on the West Coast, so you have to blindly vote without even watching them dance. You just have to put your votes in.
Wow.
And I could see a lot of like Gen X people that watch, or like older people, being confused about that and just not realizing to give her the votes. But like I said, I was also worried about her. The 90210 fandom doesn't carry as much as people think it does.
Yeah, like I said, I was disappointed to see her go because I think she was really excited to be there.
And she had improved too. She was better. She was better from week 1 to week 2.
And she was better than Reginald Vell Johnson and what's the other guy, the older
Eric
guy?
Roberts.
Eric Roberts. Like, she was better than both of those.
Yes.
Anna Dovey was better than both of those guys too.
Yes.
But her attitude for me was the reason why I didn't care if she went.
Yeah, I felt bad for Ezra, but I was real surprised that Eric Roberts, like a lot of people thought he was gonna. I'm like, who is voting for Eric Roberts? Like, not that like we dislike him or anything. I guess I didn't realize that he would have such a significant fan base. I know a lot of people really like Britt, his partner.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, he's always been just a bit actor that shows up and stuff.
Yeah.
And they showed, because it was Oscar night this episode, and so they showed he was nominated for an Oscar. Because what did I say? He didn't win it, and so I was like, well, way to rub salt in the wound.
Yeah.
But so maybe there's a generation of people that do remember him for being a bigger role and stuff. But my entire life watching, he's just kind of shown up randomly and stuff, and has
like
always
Suits.
been a scumbag in everything that he's in.
Now, when I googled pictures of what he used to look like, though, he was kind of hot back in the day. Have to say. Yeah, and you have to understand, like, even though you had predicted Reg, like, and he was in that bottom 3, like, it's not necessarily in order.
No, I know. I understand that. I'm certainly not going to be predicting Reg again for a while.
On the plus side of the dances we saw, I thought almost everybody did a better job. Alona, we can never say her name. It's not Alora. I think it's Alona. She and Alan did great. They danced to Time of My Life. And I guess now, like, they were going to do, like, the actual lift from the movie, but they said it's, like, copyrighted. And you can't do it anymore. Like, that's what they were saying on Instagram. And I thought she did way better. Like, you could tell that even though she's got that personality, that she was nervous week 1. She had shaken off some of the nerves, and they did it really cute. He lifted her. She lifted him. It was a fun dance.
Yes, I agree. I like that one. I also liked Steven's dance was really good.
Yes.
Which they didn't give him as high a marks on it as I thought he deserved. But
they had a paso.
Maybe I think also he is one of the people on the show that's probably getting judged harder than everybody else because he is clearly in a level above. He may not be in that top tier yet, but he is not. He's above other participants in the show.
I normally don't love the paso as much, especially when men do it, because I feel like it's just people clunking around and walking around. But Riley clearly had faith in him because he actually had, and I think they were praising him, like they actually had content in it, and it was a good dance. I love that he keeps leaning into the whole glasses Superman thing. Like, keep leaning into it. That's fine by me. Another dance, Chandler. She did the dance to the song from the Barbie movie, What Was I Made For? They did a rumba to it. Mm-hmm. That looked like a week 7 dance to me. A week 6 dance. I don't know how long the show lasts, but it was so good.
We always say we don't know how the fan vote is going to roll it out, but the fact of the matter is this competition is over.
In terms of who's the best?
In terms of who's the best.
And you think it's Chandler?
Yeah.
For sure. It was such a beautiful dance. So good. I think we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about on the pod or to each other. Her partner, Brandon. Do you think he can come through with choreography?
That would be the one thing that I'd be worried about because he has in the past kind of dropped the ball with some of his pros, but she's really good.
I feel like there are definitely people that I can see being in the finals, but in terms of just pure talent, pure emotion, like she's top of the class. Like she's so good. Another dancer that stuck out to me was Joey is still doing pretty good from Bachelor.
Yeah, he's fine.
I think he could make the finals. He's well liked. I guess Jen and Sasha had like trouble with their music.
Yeah, they said all they heard was the beat track.
And I watched it I don't think we really noticed that as much on TV, but they posted on Instagram what it actually sounded like to them, and they had like no sound.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning. Like that would be really hard to dance through that. Anybody else that sticks out to you as being a particularly memorable performance?
I mean, the basketball player, what's his name?
Oh, Dwight Howard and Danny.
And Danny, like having a foxtrot, and they did a...
And you were worried about that.
They did a pretty good job, I think.
They did it good. Danny is coming up with good stuff for him.
Considering the circumstances of the height difference, that's about as well as you could do a foxtrot.
Agreed.
Where you have to be in hold like that the whole time.
I think, again, I'll say it, and I don't know if you agree with me, Danny is the best female choreographer and probably the best choreographer that we have.
I would agree.
Of the cast of pros. Like, they keep just giving her challenges, and she keeps rising to that challenge. Now, during that elimination, though, Danny was mad. Like, if you looked at her face, and she said, like, she's like, yeah, I was upset when I found out because her husband's Pasha, who dances with Tori, she was ticked. That, like, you could tell. Like, she was mad. I am very sad about Tori, just because Tori really loved to be there, but she actually just listened to her podcast today. She had Anna come on the podcast to talk about the show.
How's that
more.
ray of sunshine?
It was good. It was a good podcast. I hope that everybody that's eliminated goes on Tori's podcast because I just want Tori to be involved in the show somehow. I thought it was really good for her. I don't know if I don't think we're getting a double elimination because they pre-taped the Monday. And then they'll have the Tuesday live.
I hope not. I hate double eliminations.
If we get a regular elimination, just go ahead and predict. Who do you think's going home next?
Man, now I just don't know.
I'm going with Eric still.
I think it could be Eric. I think what's the model's name?
Brooks.
I think it could be her. I just don't know who's voting for her.
Well, people like us are like, wow, they're being over the top with the cringe of the showmance of Brooks and Gleb, but Brooks did dance better. And there are people on TikTok that really like the showmance and have been enjoying them. And Daniel, a lot of women like Gleb.
Those people are wrong. They're just
She
wrong.
did dance better. She did improve.
She danced better. She did improve.
It was actually Gleb that got caught out because he put like tango moves. And it wasn't supposed to be that way. And and people were mad at Derek for calling that out on social. And I'm like, Lynn would have ripped that a new one.
These people who have been watching last year and this year and never got to hear Lynn, they would not be able to handle the criticism that he would put on some people.
And the thing is, any contestant you asked on previous shows, the 10 from Lynn meant more than anything else.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm going with Eric. Who do you predict?
I'm gonna go with Eric.
Okay, so you're going with Eric over Brooks.
I'm gonna get him out. I'm getting him out of here, one way or the other.
What are you gonna do if, even though we love him and he's cute, what are you gonna do if Reg ends up knocking out someone like Alona?
I will be upset.
Then I think he would be upset too.
That would okay.
They need to have a golden season.
That would be something that would get me sending in text messages to vote.
You would not be on the other side of it.
No, I would not be on the other side of that one.
Do a golden season and put the people on that. Because I think he and Eric both have disabilities and they're older. Like, do a golden season of Dancing with the Stars. Do that in the spring. What did you suggested a really cool idea. What was it?
Do like a second chance where you bring in people who've like gotten eliminated in the first maybe 3 rounds or so.
Yeah.
And bring them in for a season, like maybe a spring season, and give everybody.
So like the opposite of All Stars.
Yeah, like the dumper. Like terrible people, bad, Tori get another shot, other people like that. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's about it for the episode this week. We really appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. And do you have any special message for everybody?
No.
All right.
I'm on the other side of it.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.